Hey guys, welcome to another one of my live streams. Today we're going to be reading Bowing to the Porcelain God, chapter 23 of Was I Ever Normal, the young adult novel that I just published in August. Just to clear up any confusion, Was I Ever Normal is a work of fiction. I took all the kids I've met in all the psych units I've been in over my childhood and adolescence and combined them into one character, Cassie. The sequence of events is fictional as well. I made it up as I went along. My novel, Saving Destiny, is much more closely based on my earlier life. We last left Cassie back in chapter 22 after she was discharged from the hospital and began going to DBT classes and meeting with her DBT individual therapist, Layla. I'll begin reading the chapter here. I continued to go to DBT classes and therapy. I listened in the DBT classes and even took notes. I did the homework they assigned and went to therapy every week. I took my medications faithfully. Some of the skills that we learned were helpful. I learned how to better cope with unpleasant emotions and how to communicate my feelings more effectively. The best thing was that I rarely ever heard the voices. I began getting more involved with Anne and Christine again. I remembered to take showers more than twice a month, to brush my hair and teeth. I was actually occasionally eating real meals. Hi, Joan. And otherwise drinking Ensure Clear or Boost Breeze. And I started feeling less scared all the time. I started to think that maybe I really was getting better. My mom and dad kept telling me what a great job I was doing. I started to think that maybe the DBT really had cured whatever had been wrong with me in the first place. Things were going so great that my parents started talking about sending me back to school. I wasn't so crazy about the idea, but my therapist and parents were the grown-ups, and they wanted me to go to a real high school. A girl in my DBT class went to a special school for kids who were involved in the arts. I had always been into art, dancing, music, and from all of my years of trying to hide my scary world from everyone, I knew I was a pretty good actress. I decided to audition for the High School of the Arts. In June of my 8th grade year, my dad drove me up to the school. It was a half an hour away from my house, but my parents didn't mind. They were too relieved at the fact that I was going to do something normal kids did. To them, going to high school was equivalent to getting better. Hey Christina, hey Vivian. Plus, if I got accepted to the school, there was a bus stop a 5-minute walk away from my house. When we got to the auditions, we were sent to a waiting room next to the dance studio where the auditions were taking place. My heart was a caffeinated butterfly in my chest. I sat with a bunch of other 8th graders and went over the monologue I would perform. I barely noticed the motley assortment of other kids. Some of them had blue hair sticking straight up in the air. Others were wearing black trench coats with chain choker necklaces. One kid was dressed up all in the leopard print, top to bottom. The cut of the clothes and the pattern kind of reminded me of Fred Flintstone. One girl was dressed in a business suit. 13-year-olds in business suits don't look normal. But who's the judge of normal, anyway? A couple of seniors and one teacher took charge of the warm-up exercises for the kids that would be auditioning. My whole body was shaking by the time it was my turn to perform my monologue. It was half expecting what. It's all right, Heather. I was half expecting one of the voices to butt in and laugh at me for thinking I could achieve a dream. For a split second, when I first stood up, I thought I saw blood dripping down the walls. When I blinked, it was gone. Remembering the DVT skill of pushing away, I took the scared and anxious feelings and pushed them out of my head by replacing them with the lines I needed to speak. I began my monologue in a shaky voice, but luckily it fit with the character I was impersonating. As I continued into my monologue, I dropped all my own thoughts, fears, and worries. I embodied my character. I kept to the lines I'd memorized, but I started thinking her thoughts and feeling her feelings. When I finished, I took a deep breath and froze while I slowly counted to 5, like my grandmother, a former professional actress, had instructed me to do. Then I declared scene and took a quick bow before dredging up the courage to look straight into the eyes of the teacher. He smiled at me. He was clapping. The seniors were clapping too. Everyone was clapping. A strange feeling welled up in my chest. It was like my body was lighter and my heart was growing stronger. I vaguely remembered having felt this way in the past. It took me a while to finally realize what it was. I was feeling pride. I was proud of myself. That was the first time in a long time that I actually felt like I'd done a good job on something that wasn't harming my body. The seniors and teacher in charge of the auditioning told me I was great. You'll get a letter in the mail to let you know whether you've been accepted, the teacher told me. I nodded at him, trying to look mature. I wouldn't worry about it too much if I were you, if you know what I mean, he told me. Then he winked at me and gave me the thumbs up. Sure enough, 2 weeks after my audition, I got a thick packet in the mail. The first sheet told me I'd been accepted to the High School for the Arts, HSA. The summer before I started high school, my eating issues started flaring up. I still ate, just less. Part of me was afraid of poison, and part of me wanted the nice side of Para to come back. While I didn't miss the other voices, I missed her soothing tones, the way she sang soft lullabies, and reassured me and gave me ideas on how to survive. I thought that maybe if I starved myself the way she always wanted me to, then maybe she would come back. I weighed 89 pounds. I thought maybe if I got back down to 75, or at least down to 80, then maybe she would come back to me. This time, I was more furtive about the fact that I was barely eating. I would wake up early and fill a bowl with milk and a few flakes of cereal, and then leave it in the sink to give my parents the idea that I'd eaten breakfast. All I ate for snacks was fruits or veggies. I never ate lunch. I would take it to camp with me and quietly throw it out in the trash. I rode my bike daily. I rode all over the city. I loved the idea of being free. of being able to go wherever I wanted on my own. It was fun to be in control of something for myself for once. Even though the voices and visions were gone for the most part, the fear of them returning continued to instill those out of control feelings in me. When I was on my bike, I felt in control. I focused on the physical feelings of riding, pumping my legs hard, coordinating my breath with my movements, feeling my hands squeeze the handlebars or switch the gears, feeling the air molecules rush around my body, feeling the sweat dripping down under my white helmet with blue and pink wavy stripes that went all the way around around the rim, and the way I could taste the saltiness when I licked my upper lip. I always rode alone, so I could focus on the pure physicality of it. The whole experience was almost spiritual for me. And as an added bonus, I was peeling away pounds, bringing me closer to a state of purity. Or Para could come back to me with her lullabies. A week before school started, I had an appointment with Dr. Kimmins. She weighed me and shook her head as I craned my neck to read the numbers that the scale registered. 77 pounds. I had lost 12 pounds. I was thrilled. Dr. Kimmins was less than thrilled, to say the least. She told my parents to sit down with me at every meal and make sure that I was at least eating a little bit. If Cassie isn't eating at least 3 meals a day, then you'll have to tell her that she can't do any bike riding until she starts eating enough to maintain her weight. A deep panic began swimming through my veins. I didn't know what to do. I so desperately wanted Para, and I had started to get addicted to the high I got from starving my body in my endless quest for weight loss. I discovered purging that night after dinner. Mom made my favorite dinner, homemade mac and cheese. All I could think about were calories and fat oozing into my body and covering my beautiful bones. If you want to keep riding your bike, then you need to eat. Remember what Dr. Kimmins said? My mom reminded me. I was so desperate to feel that beautiful wind rushing through my hair and to feel those feelings of being in complete control of my route that I forced down the mac and cheese. After dinner, I went up to my room, planning to do some sit-ups and push-ups to work off the extra calories. But my stomach felt like it was bulging out over the waistband of my pants. I was nauseated. I could feel the fat migrating all over my body. I could feel the food churning angrily around in my stomach. And I remembered how I had once tried to force myself to throw up poison. It hadn't worked then, but now I felt like I was going to throw up anyway. How hard could it be to just help that feeling along? I knew that Erin from DVT class made herself throw up all the time. Why couldn't I do it? Just this once. I headed into the bathroom, turned on my computer, and found some music. The Fight Song by Rachel Platten. I blasted up the volume as high as it would go, and then turned on the water in the sink as well, before I kneeled on my knees down in front of the toilet and stuck a couple fingers down my throat, then wiggled them around. It took a bit of wiggling. Finally, I hit the right spot. I gagged and retched and my dinner started pouring right back out my mouth. It was like a magical solution to everything. I kept wiggling a few more times till I was gagging off only stomach acid. Then I smiled at the disgusting mess of half-digested dinner. Sure, it had kinda hurt. Sure, it had been gross. But I felt so much better. I felt lighter. My stomach felt smaller. And I just felt so pure again. Soon, purging became a daily event. It had started off as a one-time thing. But why stop doing something that was such a perfect solution? This way, I could have my bike and keep staying pure and losing weight. At that point in time, I had almost given up on the idea of Para ever coming back. Almost. I still hoped in the back of my mind that maybe if I just lost a little more weight, then she'd come. But the thing that really kept the eating disordered behavior going was that I had become addicted to losing weight. I now saw myself in the mirror as fat, even though I was wearing children's size 7-8 clothes. I now was obsessed with the numbers on the scale. I now loved the euphoria when I lost another pound. I had now developed a full-on eating disorder. It really had only been a matter of time before that would happen. Purging was hurting me in more ways than one. But at first, I wasn't aware of the fact that it was making some things worse. The more I purged, the easier it got for me. Soon, I discovered tools to make it easier. For instance, I could drink a lot of water while I ate, or chew my food so much it turned liquid in my mouth. Or I could shove the back end of a toothbrush down my throat to throw up more easily. Soon, I was purging more than once a day. My day went something like this. I would eat breakfast, then throw up. I would go to camp, skip lunch, but then, when I got home, I'd be hungry. I'd eat a snack, then throw up. I would ride my bike, sometimes up to 25 or 30 miles a day, drink bottles and bottles of Diet Coke, sugar-free Gatorade, and Kool-Aid without sugar in it. I was an expert at where to go to get the cheapest diet soda. Then, I would come home for dinner, eat dinner with my parents, smile, laugh, sometimes even take seconds, and then throw up. All my thoughts were starting to revolve around where, when, and what I'd eat, and then where, when, and how I'd throw it back up. I had elaborate systems of hiding the purging from my parents. Music, running water, toothbrushing, and even when required, cleaning the whole toilet bowl and seat completely. Some days I went for bike rides after dinner to prevent my parents from getting suspicious of my constant after-dinner trips to the bathroom. The actual throwing up hurt my throat. It made my voice sound squeaky and scratchy all the time. I started to get chronic stomach aches and acid reflux. Every time I went from sitting to standing, the blood would rush to my head, and I'd get dizzy and disoriented. Sometimes I would scratch the back of my throat up so bad that I would even puke up little bits of blood. I knew all those problems were a result of my forced vomiting, but other problems were starting to surface. Problems that at first I didn't know were related to my secret appointments with the Porcelain God. And that is the end of chapter 23. What did you guys think of it? Any questions, comments, anything? I'd love to hear your reactions. Any comments from anyone? Any questions from anyone? Any questions about the book itself? Yeah, that's interesting, Vivian. So I never actually had bulimia or an eating disorder. This part is fiction. But I did meet a lot of girls with eating disorders when I was in the different psych units as a child and as a teenager. And I was misdiagnosed with an eating disorder. So I thought I'd have Cassie develop an eating disorder in this book. I'm glad you're able to relate to it, and it sounds realistic enough that you're able to relate to it. That makes me feel really good that you were able to relate to it. Oh, I didn't actually go through that. Oh, Vivian, you're sorry. Vivian went through that. I'm really glad it's realistic enough. Thank you, Vivian, for telling me you can relate to it. That makes me feel really good. I wasn't sure if it was realistic or not because I've never been through that myself. So I'm really glad it's something you can relate to. That makes me feel really good that I did a good enough job making it relatable. I am really sorry you went through that too, Vivian. That's great that you're losing weight, Vivian. That's awesome. I'm sure you're beautiful just the way you are too, though. I know you're a beautiful person inside, and that's what really counts. Oh, thank you, Heather. Heather can't comment on the chat itself because it's not letting her, but she did just comment to me that she thinks it's great that I can show the mental health through a child's eye. I'm glad I'm able to do that. Any other questions or comments? Any questions about where to buy the book or anything? Because the book is published and it is available at our Barnes & Nobles. Hi, Bree. We just finished the Well, I think I'll end here then. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the live stream, and keep an eye out for the next one. The next one will be Saving Destiny. It'll be the next chapter in Saving Destiny for the next one. I should have the description posted soon and the sign-up list posted soon. Thanks for coming, everyone. I love you guys so much. Take care. See you soon.